Okay, so on the agenda for today's webinar, I want to quickly cover a affiliate feed that Ticket Network have inside their website that could be very useful for your web pages. It does come with one caveat that I'll get to shortly. I'll talk about the results from my 3-hour SEO test, which included trying to SEO blank websites, empty websites. I want to talk about a new test that we've just sort of initiated in the last couple of days, which is kind of what I've called mono-tiered link building. Go into that more in a minute. RSS link building as well is another new one I'm looking at. And also an initiative that's about to kick off, which is 30 SEO tests in 30 days, which could just kill me, but will be very interesting and worthwhile, hopefully. A quick couple of words of warning about some promo for Rank Crew and discussion on Link Emperor links. A couple of good ideas for future SEO service businesses as well, one of which I've hit on before. So that's kind of the roadmap for today. So let's kick it off with Ticket Network's ticket feed. Now, if actually, I'll just take you through the steps on how you do this, and I've got to throw in a support ticket to Ticket Network to just double check how this works with Commission Junction affiliates. The example you'll see here is where I've logged into my own Ticket Network, one of my Ticket Network accounts, not a CJ account. So I do need to clarify, but it does apparently work with CJ as well. So basically what we're looking to achieve, and let me actually just jump back to show you what I'm talking about firstly. So we can reach this code here, this whatever you want to call API data feed we've got going on, and you can see, if you can see my screen here, and I'll just enlarge it. We can go to this particular page and stick in our ID. I'm just going to put in a bogus ID, that's not my real affiliate ID there, and throw in a search term such as Miami Heat, for example, which, as I discussed last week, it's a ton of search volume. And you can see down below, this is a preview of what you'll actually have on your web page, and this is auto-updating. So once you get the code on your web page, it will remove any events that are no longer valid or hopefully that they don't have tickets for, and it will keep adding to them down the bottom as new games and tickets kind of become available. So obviously here you just need to copy this code. I've done it on HTML pages, works absolutely fine. I haven't checked it on WordPress yet, so you're going to need to play around with that a little bit. And obviously in the parameters here, which are relatively limited but not too bad, you can just choose by city, state, particular search terms, just depending on how you have your pages configured. And they've got a few different looks. So if we go to option 2, for example, a bit of a different look there, nothing too dramatic. Option 3 is like that one, and option 4 looks like that. So obviously that can provide a lot of event-specific, date-specific links and information for someone visiting your web page. And I've been running a trial on this for a few days, and even though in theory this is actually a very useful thing to have on your web page, and if we go and have a look at, let me just jump over to just move my GoToWebinar stuff out of the way, and if we have a look at something like Yankees tickets, for example, you can see we've been using SEO Quake too much here today. If we just grab a few pages here, maybe StubHub, just very quickly, Ticketmaster, IQ, I guess is how you pronounce that one, Tickets Now, Vivid Seats. They do tend to have, okay, that's kind of a calendar arrangement there. Let me just get that pop-up out of the way. Here we've got this kind of list of events, a similar sort of information to what we can get from that Ticket Network data feed as well. And same here on tickets now, exactly the same. And on this one, same deal. And notice how they're not actually using logos, the official MLB logo as well. I know that issue came up this week in the training, but you can see these pages, they're using a New York Yankees logo, but the other guys are not using official logos, which can actually get you in a lot of trouble, I gather. So a good idea to avoid those. But now we've got quite a few of the sites there on page 1 for Yankees tickets, and that's got pretty decent search volume with this kind of date event listing. But I've actually seen conversions drop quite disturbingly on my sites where I've been running that data feed plugin. So I recommend that you try it with and without. When you've got some traffic going to your tickets pages, that you do try it with and without. It could be that in some, if we're working in music, it could be more problematic, but maybe in sports it works better. But I'm seeing it, for example, in concerts as having a kind of a negative effect, and theatre tickets as having a negative effect on conversions at the moment, which is a bit troubling. But the facility does kind of exist there for you to go and get that kind of listing on your page. Okay, let me just quickly, I think that's all I had to say on that quick addition to the tickets. Let me just check very quickly if there are any questions on that one. Peter has said he was testing that yesterday, works very well on static PHP pages. Thank you, Peter. Good to know. The conversion thing is less good, but Stephen has asked, why do you think that's affecting conversions? Pretty difficult to say, Stephen. It does look more legitimate and organized, as you say, but I think in this sort of conversions testing, tracking thing, we've just got to look at it, the fact that it isn't performing that well, and do more playing around with it and see what supporting text or calls to action we can put around the table, around the data feed that might improve it. But at the moment, it's a tricky one to put my finger on, but we need to research that a lot more. Okay, let me just head back to PowerPoint. So the way you would do it, if you have a Ticket Network account, just very quickly, you need to click on the Get Links button on your Ticket Network account page. Then you can see this link here, Special Affiliate Tools. Then you've got Event Listing Plugin, populates a listing of tickets on your site. You then got this click here button up here, and by the way, I've tried that search widget from Ticket Network. It's terrible, absolutely terrible, and didn't do anything. So probably wasting your time on that one. And after you click on that button, then you get taken to the form page that I showed you just before. Okay, so moving on from there. So last Friday it was actually, I set up this 3-hour SEO test, and basically what I wanted to do here, and if you're not familiar with it, let me just quickly show you the relevant page in the training. So this is it here. So what I wanted to test is right at the moment how little content I could actually put on a page, and how it would rank. So what I did was, and I'm going to show you the site and everything and the terms that I went after here. So I went after, here's the site I created. So I registered secretseductiontechniques.com, which has got about 5 pages, and I think a couple of them had content. I think this first page has 280 words or something, but it's pretty thin. It's set up in a mono silo, so you can see down the bottom here, we do just click through to the next page in the sequence. These are all kind of keyword optimized, these internal links. Of course, you can see dating tips for men down here. So that was based on, let me just come back to PowerPoint. You can see Tower of Badass gets around 12,000 searches for that term a month, and also 12,000 for the Tower of Badass if it's included probably. And things like Tower of Badass PDF is 2,500 searches a month. So not too bad, and the page looks quite weak. The SEO competition on page 1 looks quite weak. So what I threw at the site then was, let me come back here. What I threw at the site was a 100 post run on SE Slingshot, and basically that was $277, and I could have up to 50 anchors on that. So most of them were keyword anchors, but there was huge variation. I used all 50. So the result of that, and out of all of the public blog network services that I have used and do use, the most consistent results I get with SE Slingshot. However, because it's public and it's big on Blackout World, it's big on Traffic Planet, you know, obviously it does have a big kind of target on its forehead, and Google is going to zap it at some point. It seems very likely. So what happened was, because we've had a week now to see what happened with the rankings, and this is what happened. Basically almost nothing. So on these search terms here that have no you know, registered search volume on Google, and we've got, like, the best we did was position 27. Now it's tricky to read too much into a single site experiment. I don't want to do that. I'm going to show you evidence to the contrary in a moment, but probably that's actually the worst result I've ever had from an SE Slingshot run. And we've gone and checked all the links. They're all built, and it was all done kind of the normal way, but very, very disappointing result on that. However, at the same time, I ran a parallel test on another site that had absolutely no content whatsoever. Every post, every page was blank. And what I did here was it got a 50 post run, and in fact it'll get another 50 post run. We didn't get time today. There was too big a backlog here, but probably Monday we'll do another 50 posts to this empty site, and this is the result that we got on that one. So it's about the same time frame, so it's about a week. And on a search term there in the UK that gets 74,000 searches a month, we got up to position 24. And there's another one there, 49,500, we got up to position 32, which is actually not too bad. And by the look of that, it's the empty site itself didn't seem to be a factor. So if you can get an empty site to move like that in a few days or up to a week from 50 PBN posts, that's pretty good. Now, whether it will stay with you know, with that empty content, whether it will maintain that ranking or go up further when we throw more PBN links at it, obviously I'll report that in a future webinar when we see what happens there. But you can see that's quite promising, and it does, as Tony has been talking about quite a lot actually in the training, Tony Goland, that he from memory, he ranks empty sites quite often, or virtually empty sites, and it's just not a problem at all. So I must admit, I myself had to get out of that mindset of creating content for new projects until they're kind of starting to perform and maybe getting some traffic there. It's a bit old school now, I guess, and it's one of those situations where just look at kind of the actual test results rather than kind of even what makes sense or what Google is saying or what's being talked about on the forums or whatever, because you can see there that on a 74,000 search term to get to position 24 that quickly with a completely empty site suggests that content is really not the problem. Probably more links. We're going to see what happens there. So I'm going to do a lot more testing in this ranking empty sites and empty pages, and obviously I'll report that back on future webinars. But crashed and burned with the Tower Badass one there, but this parallel one in the UK, quite a different result. Okay, let me just, before I move on from that one, let me just check any questions. So Peter has asked, rather than showing the data feed, which can lower conversions, definitely does in our experience here already, send them straight to Ticket Network from the event page through a big call to action text or button. Absolutely. That's it. So I think, you know, from the last time I looked at Crazy Egg, it's text links that tend to do the best in terms of click-through. Stephen has asked, would it be good protocol to use switch boxes with any public network? Absolutely. Yep. I would definitely do that. And Tony has added, they're still ranking the empty sites. Good to hear and good to know. And yet again, just proves the value of testing, continually testing, and just checking the results. John has arrived late and has asked, what program is that? I'm not sure what program you're referring to, John, if you can just give me a bit more information. Peter has asked, do I have any tags filled out on the empty site? I don't. I don't have tags. Usually I don't do that. I have categories if there are posts, but that particular site, as you'll see if you go there, and I'll put a link beneath the recording to this video, they're all pages, not posts on that one. Okay, moving on. Let me clear my GoToWebinar. John has clarified for the Ticket Network, it seems like you were using a program to get a data feed. That's correct, John. And you can watch it on the recording. There's actually a data feed ability on Ticket Network, even if you're a Commission Junction affiliate, to get the big long list of events and matches for specific teams or in certain cities or for a particular artist, for example. Okay, moving on to something that's been bubbling away in the back of my brain for quite some time, which is what I'll call mono-tiered link building. Everything is mono with me at the moment, with mono silos and stuff. I could need to get therapy for that. We'll see. So basically, here's the thing. Here's our more or less typical view of tiered link building. And if you've read any of my stuff for a while, I'm not actually a big fan of tiered link building, and I'll give you a couple of reasons for that. I don't deny that it can be effective and work well, and every different SEO kind of has their own methodology on how they particularly like to work, and you know, they've got their own pet methods. And for me, it's all about age domains with PageRank and using those and building private blog networks, that kind of thing. But I'm still interested in tiered link building. I'm always interested in more SEO options. And one of the things that always put me off about, well, two things that put me off a lot about tiered link building. One was the complexity of it, and unless you're kind of outsourcing it or hired somebody on your staff to kind of manage a lot of, you know, Web 2.0 creation and all of that, it seemed complicated, even though Matt Woodward did his very best to sort of simplify it. Even his videos quite long, and you know, to be honest, maybe I'm a lazy kind of SEO, but it seemed a bit there was just too much work involved. The other thing that bothered me was when you look at that tier 2 there, these are kind of pretty weak links, like they're brand new pages. Yes, they're on authority sites. Yes, they will just pass a little bit of juice, but on the whole, they were pretty bad, and it was just like a complete spam fest. So I wasn't particularly keen on it, but generally speaking, that's kind of how conventional tiered link building sort of looks like that. And you even have guys building tier 3s and possibly even more tiers above that to theoretically have this cumulative kind of momentum eventually coming to the money side. So here's what I propose, what I want to exhaustively test instead. We move on to the first of my two options here, is to actually simplify and possibly, I'm hoping this is kind of more raw theory at the moment, is to remove that tier 2 layer of Web 2.0s and instead replace it with something like a high PR domain. So for example, we might have a high PR domain like a PR5 or higher if it's available for sale. And the idea is that that would then link to a group of buffers which could, for example, be Web 2.0s. Now, it could well be that we need to get a, a number of expired domains for different groups of buffers. I've just done 5 buffers here. It could, in fact, need to be more. But there are kind of two reasons why I'm interested in this theory, and they're kind of 2 myths that I've found not to be accurate. Well, one is at least. The first is that the conventional wisdom goes, and I've seen, obviously this is repeated everywhere, and I've only seen Matt Cutts kind of contradict this once. The conventional wisdom goes that outgoing page rank is divided by the number of links on the page. So if it's a PR5 page, for example, and you have 10 links, each of those links gets, 1/5 or 10th, whatever I said there, of the PR5. They don't all get the PR5 sort of value. That's the theory. And the reason I think Google has kind of peddled that line for so long is to prevent kind of spam links on the page. Now, for me, and I've been doing a lot of age domain buying for years and years, probably more years than I care to remember now, but I've looked at tons and tons and tons of domains. And I know you can't necessarily see every PR link for every domain that you think about buying, but I've just seen so many domains where the only decent link was on a page with tons of links. So I might, for example, be looking at a PR4 or a PR5 domain, and its only link that any tool can find is from a page with hundreds of outgoing do-follow links. I've just seen it over and over and over, and it was pretty obvious to me that the PR could not possibly have been divided and yet still wound up with this particular domain that I'm looking at, the one that was linked to, being a PR4 or 5. It just didn't make sense. And even though I'm really bad at maths, that kind of seemed pretty obvious to me, and I've just seen that with so many domains, that the only good link just came from a page that had a ton of links, like a conference, a university conference page, for example, that had like 200 outgoing links on it, was the only good backlink. And I've just seen that a lot. So I actually think, based on that my tier 2 here, the expired domain, is actually going to pass a lot more juice even if it's got these links coming out. And obviously it can link out to other authority sites and try to look a bit more natural as well. Now, the other thing I'm sort of encouraged by, and I think this is true, although we can't confirm it without actually working for Google, but it makes sense, is that PageRank is basically updated daily at Google. So internally at Google, PageRank gets updated every day to account for all of the new links. Who is CNN linking to today? Who is BBC linking to today? That changes things, and PageRank needs to update. So with our tier 1 here, these Web 2.0 buffers, even though they are actually brand new pages, in theory they should get some PR juice basically straight away, which will then be of value for the money side. And I think when you look at this kind of diagram of this sort of mono-tiered link building, I think this is a lot more manageable and a lot faster to build. Luckily it'll be a lot faster for us to test as well, to see if this can actually work, because I'm always just interested in finding new angles. Now I want to try this in 2 different variations. So the first here, I'm going to use Web 2.0s as buffers, but I'm always very big on owning and controlling your own links as much as possible. Obviously I do that with PBNs and any blog, age domain that I buy as a repurposed money site or for SEO purposes. Can't control everything every time, so things like press release links are a bit beyond control unless we're using a switchbox SEO approach. So here, obviously, this tier 1 kind of works as a very good switchbox as well. But what if, for example, there are policy changes at some of these Web 2.0 sites, these platforms, the links are gone, that work, there's mucking around involved there. So the second variation that I want to test on this is this one, where we actually have lower PR buffer sites here. So these could be, for example, PR2s, PR3s, PR1s, but they have some page rank here. And what I like here, as I say, is the fact that I have control, total control of all of these sites. So Richard and I are already talking about how we're going to implement this and setting things up. So it's one to be aware of. I'm not saying to rush in and start doing it yourself straight away, but it's kind of where one of my avenues of kind of SEO thinking is at the moment. Okay, let me just take any quick questions on that one. Hopefully I answered them as we're going through. Andreas has asked, have you tested this setting on any niche, or is it more a theory at the moment? I'm not sure which setting you mean. Andreas, if you can just type in and make that clearer, that would be great, and I'll come back to your question. Okay, moving on, and I did discuss this one in the training, and unfortunately RankWiz is not proving super cooperative on this. And again, it's a type of tiered link building. So again, I want to try this in two different configurations. So if you missed my thread on this, let me just give you a very quick bit of background. RankWiz and more recently FCS Networker have the ability to take full RSS feeds, and by full I mean they don't just truncate the article there. They actually have a means, or RankWiz definitely does. I'm not 100% sure on FCS Networker. RankWiz has got the option of taking an RSS feed and basically putting that onto a Web 2.0 site that you've got set up, and you can buy accounts already created inside RankWiz. But it can do that with translation. So for example, I could translate an incoming RSS feed to German or to Chinese or to Spanish or to French, something like that. Now the reason that I would do that is, and the translation looks pretty rough, it doesn't read particularly well, as if you've ever seen Google Translate try to translate some foreign pages, it can be quite funny. But all we're trying to do is just make it not duplicate content. We're just trying to semi-uniquify it to a certain degree, try to just make it a bit more original. But it can be, in theory, it could be done on autopilot. So we take the English RSS feed, we publish it in German on a Web 2.0 site with RankWiz, and we add our anchor texts into RankWiz and the URL or URLs that we want to link to. And in the background, as new articles get posted on the English site and they get fed through RankWiz to our Web 2.0s, in theory we've got this constant link building going on in the background. That's the theory, and by the kind of sales messages in this area on RankWiz, it sounds kind of as simple as that. We ran into two main problems. The first was that, I don't know why they did this, but it just kind of a dumb mistake or oversight, which was when English, for example, was translated into German, the anchor text was also translated into German. So now suddenly my weight loss tips has turned into the German equivalent of that. So there isn't at the moment any way in RankWiz to actually protect the Englishness, if I can put it that way, of the anchor text that you put into the system. It gets translated automatically into whatever language you've told the post to be translated into. So that's not good. So then I thought, well, if we reverse that, what we can do is then take, for example, a German or a French site's RSS feed, and obviously that's going to be a lot harder because there'll be a lot fewer of them, particularly if we're in a kind of a funny niche. We'll take that and we'll convert that into English, and therefore it will leave the anchor text alone. Well, what we found then was that RankWiz would, the translation capability of those other language into English was quite poor, and the articles were often like just half translated. The anchor text link was there, but the translation just had a really bad job done on it. So I've raised all this in a support ticket with the guys at RankWiz, and I'm hoping they'll get back to me. That was a couple of days ago, I think, because I just see this is one thing I'd love to test out, because I love the idea of some tiered link building going on like that on an automated basis with sort of unique content. There's no spinning involved here. The spinning just kind of comes about through the translation. And I know that's low quality, but we're talking about up on a tier 2 level there. So that's another one to keep an eye on, and I'll definitely update on future webinars on just how we're going with that one. Let me just check if we have any questions. Okay, looking good. Not that questions are bad, of course. Can I just get, I'm curious about things like this. If I can just get a quick show of, if you're on the call now, who has set up a ticket site and is actively working on the tickets project. Hi Steve, I'm aware of that PM, I'm trying to get through it. Paul is involved in the tickets, Neil, getting there. Okay, interesting, so, yep. Okay, good stuff. Excellent. All right, really good. Ton of keywords out there. Miami Heat alone, my God, the long tails there will be incredible. Okay, thank you guys, I appreciate that. Okay, moving on. And obviously, just if it isn't clear, I'm sure it is, but let me just spell it out anyway. All of these things I'm talking about here with the mono-tiered backlinking and translation link building all could be super relevant for your ticket projects or obviously other projects that you have there. So not just kind of wild, irrelevant theory, it could be very, very practical and useful for you, and I hope it is. Okay, the other variation that I also want to run, if and when RankWiz can work, and maybe we can only do it with FCS Networker because they seem more responsive to support tickets so far, is with using PR sites, just as I did with the mono-tier link building before. That tier 1 is just sites that I actually own, so that's the variation on it there. Okay. So basically, let me just contextualize this a little bit. A big project that we're about to launch, and this is as well for the blog, so don't feel outraged when I start posting on the blog, which I haven't done for ages, as some of you might know. It's very difficult to get time there, but we're putting things in place to make this possible. One of the problems with testing is often the mechanics of just setting it up or the costs involved. So even though I've spent a ton of money on SE Slingshot, for example, in testing, and now I'm throwing money at Green Label SEO, and I've thrown some money at SEO Kebab and on Black Hat World and things like that. To do kind of more larger scale testing is tricky and can be expensive. So luckily, sort of figured out a way to do all of this. So my goal here, and it's probably going to be an April thing, might start end of March, but it's to do 30 new SEO tests in 30 days and then take a long holiday. I'm joking about the holiday, actually. So basically, here's my goal with this particular project. There are kind of three elements to it, and the first one is fixed. On the left here, I'm going to use my own PBN, one that's just for my own projects. So this is about 100-ish sites, so 110, something like that, sites just for my own. Nobody else kind of uses that particular network. And that is going to be the fixed SEO resource, because I know it just works so much of the time. Nothing works 100% of the time in SEO or life, probably. But it works extremely well most of the time. So the fixed element here is going to be something like a 50 to a couple of 50s or a single 100 post PBN run. So those are like PR2 to PR4 sites. The post and link goes on the home page for anything from a few hours to a few days, depending on how busy it is. And then they kind of roll off to inner pages. And even though in theory that's really bad and those inner pages don't have PR, in practice from results it works extremely well most of the time, as I say. So that's kind of the fixed element for these 30 tests. In fact, it'll probably be a lot more tests, as you'll see when I kind of explain it a bit more. It might be more like 80 or something like that. It's a crazy number. So the next thing in the middle that I can obviously play around with is anchor text variation. So for example, I want to do runs with only brand anchors or only URL anchors or no keyword anchors and things like that, and really keep repeating that over and over and reaching that point of finding some consistency in the patterns there for the way things are working right now. Now, obviously, the next time Google runs Penguin, that could all go kind of topsy-turvy, and we'll see what happens then. But the idea there is just to test a ton of anchor text variations and really drill down to very best practice right now. And obviously the third element there is a bunch of different sites, and a lot of these are parasite pages that we just didn't get around to finishing off properly on the paleo experiment. So off the top of my head, you know, there are sites like Storify, and I think could be Free Dictionary. I could be wrong on that one. There are a ton of them, and even now we're working on a bunch of other new ones that I've never heard of before that have good PR, sort of these blogging platforms, so I can keep changing. So, for example, on day one, what I'll do is I'll go to iWriter.com, which I've just started trialing, and the turnaround time there is awesome. You know, you put a job in there, and within, you know, an hour, you know, there are already people have submitted articles, and you can go there and review it. And I'm finding even on big jobs like 7 or 10 articles, I'll get them back usually within 24 hours, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. So that makes it quite fast to get some content, although we're not going to have content on every site. We're going to have some empty ones, remember, of course, from our earlier tests. So I can test out, I'll have content or no content for various different sites like Storify, different parasites, just trying lots of different angles. But on one day, for example, we could do 5 different Storify pages for 5 different niches with 5 different, completely different anchor text variations, and just sit back and watch the results. Now, apart from the expense of doing that with kind of public blog network services like SE Slingshot, where a 100-post run is close to $300. There's also the issue of not wanting to out the sites in that particular PBN. So the way that I'm going to report results for this, because really it's about the specific methodology and steps, the way that I'm going to report those results will be like you saw before on the no content test. So I can throw up microsite masters pages like this. I'm going to have to increase my account quite a lot, the capacity of it. So we'll be able to see exactly the results of a particular configuration of SEO tests, but obviously for the security of those sites and that investment, I need to kind of keep those hidden. So hopefully that's going to prove very valuable, and inside the training there'll be more detailed info than kind of what's on the blog. It's a little bit like Big Brother backstage, if you like, or the concert backstage. Okay, let me just check if we have any quick questions on that one. Peter has asked a great question. How do you find the quality from iWriter? I go up to the 4-star level, and it's okay. It's not bad. I haven't yet gone up to their kind of maximum level, the higher quality one, but I think it's the 4-star or above level. It's not bad, Peter. I expected it to be worse, but not bad. Not bad, actually. Okay, Andreas. So Andreas has said, have I tested it with a new site and the site that makes already serious money? That's any way to test it if a method is more than theory. When you say, have you tested it, Andreas, can you just type in what you mean by it, which thing? Because we've already talked about a lot of concepts here, and then I'll come back to that question. Peter has asked an interesting question, a difficult one. I'm curious why you post these types of tests to the public blog. Doesn't that bring more attention from Google? Maybe it does. It could well do, but it's sort of how I operate. I'm sort of a natural teacher, and I like to empower other people to do well. I've been kind of doing it all my IM career, kind of So it's what I do. Mono-tiered or RSS link building, absolutely. I mean, I think I pointed that out, Andreas, that those are theories that we're bringing into testing now. I wanted to explain the thinking behind it, the philosophy behind them, and give you a kind of preview of where the testing is going. Okay, moving on. A few days ago, I got this email from Rank Crew, which is an SEO service from Jonathan Ledger, although I don't think that's how you pronounce his name. John Ledger, might be John Leger, not sure. John has been around a long time. He's got a whole bunch of different services. He makes the best spinner, amongst other things. And he sent out this email talking about how good Rank Crew is. Now, I don't know if anybody on this course actually tried the Rank Crew service, but I just wanted to highlight a couple of quick caveats here. In this particular email, Rank Crew talks about how they're ranking at #1 for all of these particular terms. And if you do go and check on Google, they actually are ranking up for those terms. But there was something in the email that caught my eye. We've obtained these rankings and many others primarily with Rank Crew backlinks, which suggests they're using other things. If you followed that Video Vantage kind of scam that was going on, where it was claimed that certain software was used to rank certain videos, but it turned out that they were actually part of a much bigger, their rankings were part of a much bigger SEO campaign. You need to check things like what kind of links are they building, and you'll see that Rank Crew still have a heavy reliance on forum profile links, for example. And also, what's the SEO competition actually like for these particular terms, and is there that much search volume for them? Are there that many people going after them? So if we jump over to my browser for a minute here, where are we? So this is the Rank Crew site, for example, and I'm not sure if I can actually get their link typed. Yeah, might need to actually have an account and a login there, but I do recall seeing their packages, and they still are using quite a lot of forum profile links, I think, are still in there. Yep. And if we jump over to Link Emperor, which obviously has got a massive price range and quite a well-known brand in the SEO space, probably for good and bad reasons, we can see here in this middle line here, with these accounts, for example, on this low level, you've got like 9,000 forum profiles. You know, obviously, you need to make your own decisions about the type of SEO you do, but to me, something like forum profiles, it's pretty bad, and Google is definitely onto those, and they're not going to help and can actually do quite a lot of damage to your rankings if you're not careful. So just when you see these kinds of emails, let me just make that larger again, these kind of things, just like with Video Vantage, it's really important, and I'm sure I'm kind of preaching to the converted on this call, but obviously, when you get these kind of emails or promotions or whatever, you've just got to be so circumspect in SEO and really look more closely into it. By all means, you might want to test it, particularly on something that's disposable, like a parasite page that has very little content on it or whatever. But for your beloved money site that you've invested a lot of time in, just be very, very careful about using a package like that. Yep, and there's the Link Emperor page that I was just showing you as well. I'm sure everyone on this call is aware of that, but I just wanted to highlight it with that Rank Crew email this week. Okay, the last thing I wanted to talk about is potential future SEO service opportunities. One of these I've talked about before. I'm not sure. Maybe I've actually talked about both of them very briefly, but I just want to go into them in a bit more detail here. The first of these, recently I finally went over to the dark side, if you like, and got a smartphone. It was kind of for business reasons more than anything else, and Last night, when I just had a moment to myself, I was actually checking the best sellers on Android apps and the most popular in the free one. And it's really interesting to see what's in the top 100 there. And then, and I'm actually going to do a separate webinar on this because I just think it's you know, obviously a massive opportunity, and it could even be that in 2014 mobile search will pass desktop search, which is a staggering statistic if it's true. But among the things I noticed there were a lot of quote-unquote apps that were basically just a list of tips, almost like a PDF had just been turned into an app. And in fact, let me just show you what I'm talking about. Nothing like a live demonstration. So if I come over here to Google Play, for example, and this is very Android focused, and I just type in something like SEO, you can see here, where am I? You find that quite a few of these are like sort of tips, tidbits, just sort of guides, SEO tips, guides, and things like that. And if people are searching for things on desktop, it kind of makes sense that they're also searching for those things in the App Store. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there's a completely different mindset, but to me I see quite a strong connection. And the fact that there are these like tips, guides, or whatever, which is that even an app? Like it's just a list of tips. I saw the same in time management, just all these different tips and things. But when you to get to the point here, when you kind of look at any of these searches in the App Store, on the face of it, it seems pretty random. And what I think the opportunity is here is to actually do some proper research and develop some SEO for app stores, for apps. Now, I did a little bit of quick Googling around on this and found this particular guide here on SlideShare. So I think I searched SEO for Google Play, something like that. Very, very basic, and this guy's recommendations, I hope he's not actually on the call tonight, I might offend him. All the things here are pretty much you know, conventional SEO stuff for it, like optimizing your title, description, kind of getting links, things like that. And you can see from this like 8 or 9 page SlideShare, in a way, let me just come back to that search result. I don't know if it has much search volume, I haven't checked that. But you can see here, this whole brand of SEO is so much in its infancy, and you know, if you are looking to develop a kind of SEO research, education type business, this seems like such a strong area to go into, is to optimizing apps for Google Play SEO. Obviously that applies to iPhones, their App Store as well. And I think it was last year I read a statistic on BBC that was something like 800 new apps a day get added to UK apps, the main UK apps library. It might be higher in the US, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how many get added to Google Play each day. But it's a staggering number there, and I think if you invested the time and the research and built great educational resources, and you know, you can look at doing some consulting on it. At the very least, there's probably a good WSO on it if there hasn't been one already, and I don't necessarily recall seeing one. Maybe there has been. To me, this is absolutely a golden opportunity, and if you're not sure about that, just consider, for example, if we rewind on Warrior Forum a couple of years, there was a time when doing offline SEO for local business was basically unheard of on Warrior Forum, and I think it was, I may not get his name correct, David Kavanagh, another Australian guy. I think he was one of the first to really start popularizing it, and that became huge. And now you see SEO everywhere kind of having a massive focus on offline consulting, like SEO for small business. And also, if you have a look at something like Facebook advertising and Facebook promotion, how big that has come, like in the last maybe year, 18 months to 2 years on Warrior Forum. Before that, it wasn't really there yet. So I think here, and I'm not, I don't think you should underestimate how big this potential area of SEO could be. But to be one of the original pioneers on the leading edge of this particular area of SEO, you know, could be extremely lucrative for you as well. People want SEO expertise, especially if it's with proven results, and here you're just kind of sub-niching down to something that's obviously gaining huge momentum. By the look of it, the guys who are in there doing it pretty badly. You know, a lot of those apps, tips and things seem pretty crude, pretty basic. So as usual, all revenue that you make, you need to send 50% to me for suggesting that. Actually, 25% will be fine. Okay, any quick questions? Stephen has added nothing stellar results-wise and was targeting local organic. Maybe that was Link Emperor. Used Link Emperor and got penalized. So actually Link Emperor works perfectly for negative SEO. Alex has added you can actually turn your WordPress site into an app. Might be interesting and actually cut down a lot on development time. Stephen said Rank Crew. He used it for local organic. Nothing amazing rank-wise. Cool, thank you, Stephen. Appreciate that. So SEO for apps, absolutely huge. And if you guys on the call today don't get in on it, then I will. I'll jump in there. Actually, I can't see myself doing it right at the moment because I'm just too busy with everything else, but that's a crazy big opportunity, and you can be the leader or one of the main leaders of that area. Okay, the other one I wanted to talk about was, and this is a bit trickier to pull off, no doubt. Some of you have had the quote-unquote pleasure of watching Josh Bashinsky's his YouTube video after he got back from SMX West, which is a big SEO conference run in America, and Matt Cutts and Amit Singhal, the guy who's supposedly got the entire Google search algorithm in his head, were there giving speeches. It's sort of a major landmark event in SEO if you're into that kind of thing. And one of the main themes of that conference, according to Josh, because I didn't go, I find those things can be quite painful, was that Google are just hammering on and on about user metrics as a potential ranking factor or actual ranking factor. So, for example, how long do people spend on your website? Do they bounce straight back to the search results page? All of those things that suggest or disprove user engagement with your site. Now, like anything in SEO that can be kind of gamed, and obviously this is pretty black hat and may not completely suit your own business ethical view, but I'm just putting the idea out there. And I think I've seen this done a little bit with software or a kind of web-based service that would click on your, find your URL in the search results pages and kind of keep clicking on it. But a more sophisticated option here is to actually have software, obviously through a lot of different IPs and proxies and things like that, faking user metrics and offering that service. So, for example, it fakes the average time on site. It fakes people clicking through your website. Now, apart from kind of the degree of how black hat that is, there would be a massive demand for this kind of service. If you were capable of making the investment in it, seems like it's going to be a really important future direction for SEO is user engagement on site. And with almost every business in the world, either online or wanting to get online, or those who are online already wanting to get more traffic, mostly, the demand for that is absolutely massive, potentially massive, if you can figure it out and work on a way, rather than employing thousands of people on Mechanical Turk, for example, trying to get software developed that can actually come along and provide the proof that you actually can don't want to use this kind of contradictory term, but legitimately fake user engagement metrics. You know, that to me is another potentially huge area in SEO. You know, I see a lot of good areas of SEO business directions like sub-niches and the need for certain tools or software or web services. These two in particular stand out to me as huge opportunities. And I think the first one on SEO for apps, for example, is a lot easier to pull off, doesn't require, you know, software investment and development and stuff like that. But I think that second one is going to be huge as well. And a lot of people, just like people go onto Fiverr every day and buy, or, you know, crappy 40,000 blog comment links, and I do that too for testing or parasite pages or whatever. But that demand is always there, and so a product like that can definitely fit that demand. So again, 50% of all revenue needs to be sent back to me. Okay, let me just have a look at any questions. Peter has asked, I've used this tool which fakes certain parts of the user engagement, sociosim.com. I'll put a link below this recording. It worked well at first and then went intermittent. Interesting, Peter. I'll have to look at that one, and it's one that we can come back to. But that's a great share. Thank you very much. Okay, gentlemen, I think, let me just double check my PowerPoint, that might be the end of the SEO amazingness for today. Let's just see there. So if you've got any final wrap-up questions on any of the topics covered tonight or anything else, this week actually here has been like monstrous in terms of like email and busyness. So it's kind of been like a fire hose of emails and PMs and things like that. So if I've missed your PM, and I know there are a couple of people on this call who I have done that, I'm trying to this weekend trying to catch up on some of that. Peter has asked, have I had a chance to look at linkprivacy.com? It's an alternative to Spider Spanker, and have thoughts. What I'll do, Peter, I haven't, but I will, and I'll bring it up on next week's webinar. We'll test it out during the week and do some comparison testing. So that's a great share as well. Thank you. Gold star too, actually, Peter, for you today. Gold stars. Okay. Gentlemen and ladies here, thank you very much for joining me on this week's webinar, and as usual, any questions, just post them below the recording, and I'm going to actually add the recording without links now, so as soon as GoToWebinar finishes rendering it, this webinar, I will make sure the recording is uploaded so you can kind of check anything, and then over the weekend I'll just add the relevant links and things that I referred to during it. So I hope you have a great day there, and I'll see you on the next webinar. Thank you.